What makes a brand memorable? What is something that you've purchased that you're like, oh my gosh, this is the thing that I have to have? These are things that I tell everybody about. This is a person, a place, an item that makes me go, man, I want more of this. There's a plethora of them that I have in my own life. Some of these are these glasses that do cool things that I get asked about all the time. They're called Rochambeaus. The cups that I use all the time that are really fun called Swigs. And people, we talk about brands like Apple, and we have people like Taylor. So there's lots of things that we take for granted as an amazing brand that we come around and we say, this is what I stand for. These are the values that I have. This is what makes me who I am. And a lot of the time, those are other brands, people, thought leaders who share the same values as us. So, how do we become memorable like some of those brands that I just shared that you may or may not know because of where you're at? And you may be going, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I want glasses that bend, or I want a cup that has monkeys all over it. And you're like, I've never heard of this brand, but I resonate with Kabrina. So I'm going to trust her suggestion for this. And this is where we get things that become memorable, like we see with thought leaders and influencers. And so people remember stories. They don't remember facts or features. And so many times we come into the space and we want to go, this is the specs of this. This is how many modules it has. This is how much horsepower it has. Instead of, this is what it's going to look like and feel like when you're using this product, when you're in this course, when you are fill in the blank for whatever it is that you sell. And so telling stories around this is where we kind of lean into testimonials almost too much because of the fact that we're like, well, that's somebody else's story. So now I've taken the hard work for myself of coming up with, what does it feel like when somebody uses my product or service? What do I want them to feel at the end of the day? Because now we have to start thinking, okay, well, here's this amazing thing that we've created. What does it do for the end user? That's not just they learned X, Y, and Z. What's the soft skills, more fluffy side that we tend to not talk about as much in the space? And how do we pull more of that in? Because if we know from science that if somebody has an emotion, that thought and emotion creates a belief, what do people need to believe about themselves or about our products in order to buy them? Because we're wanting to go, here's this cool thing, and then purchase, when really we need to be saying, well, what's a step farther than that? How can I really connect with my people in a way that makes them feel so seen and so heard that no matter what the competition did, no matter what they put out there into the world, they're going to come back to me again and again. And so this is why in the challenge that I run called Scene in 13, I use music because I want to teach people how to become the anthem for their people. Think about your favorite artists. For me, it's Taylor Swift. There's moments in that music that I'm like, I've been there. It's like you're reading my diary. I know exactly how that feels. But it's because she knows her people so well that she can write directly to them. So who is that person for you? What is that anthem that when you hear it on the radio, you're like, oh, yes, I remember that moment. Something that Taylor says that she was saying at the beginning of her Eras tour every single time was, you've heard these songs previously, but now we're going to listen to them together, and this is going to be the memory that you have. And what a cool thing that you can take something like music that fires off different parts of the brain and pull it in to creating a community. And so many people, we hear a lot of people talk about how they want to create a community, they want to have a membership, they want to do all these things. But what kind of community are you creating around your brand? How are we drawing the right people in? We all want the right clients to find us in the right place at the right time. But what practically does that look like? And it starts with you connecting with them and understanding where they are in that specific space and time. Because a memorable brand story creates an emotional connection with your audience. It's not just, hey, this is who our founder is, this is why they did this. we want to put the five senses in. This is what it was like for them. These are the challenges that they had. You might find yourself in the same place. If you've ever felt any of these ways, X, Y, or Z, we want to welcome you in. If you were it's the beginning of the year, so let's talk about weight loss, because everybody's, this is the time of year where everybody joins the gym. January is like the worst time to go to the gym because of the fact that it's so busy. But if a gym said, and February, when people start to fall off, we know you made those New Year's resolutions and that you really want to be healthier this year. And you might feel like you are failing because you didn't make it for the last couple of weeks, that you've fallen off the horse and it's just going to always be this way. But what if it didn't have to be that way? We have dedicated trainers who are ready to come in and stand right next to you, and you get your first 3 times with us for free. So we're starting to create, one, a rhythm for them, but we're also solving a problem of like, I go to the gym and I don't know what to do. So that goes back to that idea that we've talked about previously of what problem am I solving for my people and what is the real problem? A lot of times we sell things that solve the underlying problem, but then we don't think like a doctor and go, what are the symptoms that they have that they think is the problem? Because if I go into the doctor with the flu or a cold, I might have a cough, a runny nose, and a fever. But what else is there that makes it the difference between a cold and the flu? And so many times we don't dig into that because we know what the real problem is. So we go and we're like, we're going to solve that real problem because we figured it out. We've been there. We've done that. We know the market research. We know exactly what our people are saying when it comes to solving that actual problem. But when people aren't there yet, what are the symptoms that they think are the problem? And how are we solving for those so that they can come back? In research done by Princeton University, the study found that storytelling activates areas of the brain that are tied to memory and emotion. So just like we talked about, that thought creates emotion, which then creates a belief. The research shows that listening to a well-told story activates parts of the brain involved in sensory experiences and social understanding. And so this is the prefrontal cortex as well as the posterior cingulate cortex. And this is linked with reflection and understanding long term. So these are things that are going to start putting those little thought processes into place. So I always like to joke with my clients that we want to embed yourself in people's brains. That means that the stories that we tell, like if I tell you a story about the ketchup that's on the second shelf behind the milk, that there's that one person in your family that can never, ever find it. You already have in your mind that person in your family who can't find it, right? And so every time that person asks for the bottle of ketchup, or if they are the person, every time they go look for that bottle of ketchup, they're going to go, I remember that. And if I was going to connect it to something else that now serves as my product, such as better storytelling in your brand, then every time that ketchup bottle comes to mind, or you get ketchup from the local Chick-fil-A, you're going to go, oh, yeah, ketchup. It's like a little trinket that people go, yeah, that reminds me of you. And I can't tell you how many times my clients will go, I saw this and it reminded me of you. And it's things that I have purposefully embedded, like fairies and Taylor Swift and ketchup, into my storytelling in order for people to see that it's not just the phenomenal stories of you made it to this big thing, which is normally what a founder's story looks like. It's also those tiny little stories of here's what I learned today with this one tiny thing that I'm super interested in that you might not have anything to do with. But it's all about how we tell the story. Are we gaining know, like, and trust with our people? And are we truly understanding what problem they think they have? Because even if we think that we have the answers and we know it all, are we meeting our people where they're at? Are we showing up for them in the way that they need us to show up for them? And so those are some of the questions that I want you to ask yourself today. And if you want to hop on a call and talk through your own brand story, whether you're an entrepreneur, a thought leader, or a corporate leader, I would love to do that. You can grab a time, just send me a DM, and I'd be happy to talk more with you about what that could look like. So I will see you next time on Kabrina Unscripted.